Hi, my name is Jordan Torres. I'm a history major at UCR, and my topic for my presentation is slavery and how abolitionists worked to end slavery. My source is an address to the public from the Pennsylvania Society for Promoting the Abolition of Slavery and the Relief of Free Negroes Unlawfully Held in Bondage. The writer of this address was the Pennsylvania Society for the Abolition of Slavery and was signed by Benjamin Franklin. He was the president of the society. They worked to end slavery through writing and publishing pieces like this to push their ideas to the people. They wanted people to understand how important it was that they get help for the freed slaves reintegrating into society, as well as abolish slavery altogether to free the enslaved people of the United States. This society was founded in 1775 in Philadelphia with Anthony Bizet as the leader and centerpiece originally. The group was originally started as some Quakers that were against slavery and wanted to see it abolished. They were originally called the Pennsylvania Society for the Relief of Free Negroes Unlawfully Held in Bondage, and they would go help freed black individuals that were enslaved wrongfully. The source I used is a primary source that was a public address from the society to promote the abolition of slavery by showing all the wrong and horrors there is in slavery, not only physically, but mentally as well. His argument is not only to free the slaves, but to carefully guide them after being freed so they don't struggle finding their path and getting on their feet. If done wrong, freed slaves could struggle to find their path, go hungry, while struggling to find jobs in an arrogant job market that are bitter after having to release their slaves and lose out on profit from their investment. The document was also a declaration that the society was committed to ending slavery and was requesting donations from the public to help with this effort. This document was created in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is a city where the Pennsylvania Society for the Abolition of Slavery were located. Benjamin Franklin also lived in the city, which is why he joined the movement and became their president. The document was written on November 9th, 1789, which was when the anti-slavery activism was growing and turning the tide. This document was created to promote the society and their efforts to abolish slavery, as well as raise funding for their movement so that they could pay the committees that would be helping the slaves establish jobs and guiding the youth through schools and education, as well as the committee that would teach trades to all recently freed persons. This advert wasn't only a call for funding, but also a message to the people of Philly that slavery was not only morally wrong, but was very damaging to these human beings, which is why they wanted to abolish it and bring the atrocities to attention. Slavery is such an atrocious debasement of human nature that its very extirpation, if not performed with solicitous care, may sometimes open a source of serious evils. This quote is telling of how gruesome slavery was, that it was considered that if slaves were let free with no supervision, they would be lost in life and struggling because slavery had drained them into primitive beings, since they were told to do onerous tasks daily and then having no task at all, but also no form of income in a very capitalistic society. The unhappy man who has long been treated as a brute animal too frequently sinks beneath the common standard of the human species. That's my second quote from the source. This quote to me is that in a world where men treated other men as animals and even pets, but would beat them into submission, as well as not be fed proper food or given enough water as punishment from time to time, to be devoid of all that, is required to survive, while still being asked to perform at a high level, or else more punishment would ensue, drove these people to madness. At the time, they were even considered 3/5 of a person by the government, not even considered as a full person, which showed in how the society, the United States treated people, black people, slaves, um, and just completely dismantled all humility of slaves as a person. Um, this source shows that there were some who cared for the slaves and wanted to see them get their justice after living in an evil society for so long and being used as profit machines. This disconnect in society is what led to a civil war playing out because the country was split as some who had no morals and pure greed in their heart, while the other wanted change and cared for the human beings on this planet. That greed is an early part of the creation of the Americas, rooting from the private property laws brought to the Americas from Britain to claim land from the natives and steal whatever resided on that land from the natives in forms of a claim, as well as the tobacco production and market, leading them to bring thousands of Africans from Angola to be enslaved to produce more tobacco in Jamestown, 1619. America was built on greed, and this source is a perfect example of just that. Citizens felt it was wrong to have people enslaved for generations and want to change. This change would require lots of funding to not only get slavery abolished, but help integrate them back into society as well. Abolition worked in some states, but the Southern Union refused because they claimed it would hurt their finances and that they were actually treating the slaves really good. This arrogant greed would lead to the death of many in what became the Civil War to push for the end of slavery. Thank you.